All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'll give it a few seconds for this thing to get fired up, and hopefully some folks to join us in the comments section. I am going to awkwardly reach down and get the notes that I've scrawled and just immediately dropped on the floor. Well done, Andy. All right, hope your Wednesday's going well. Hopped in today in the digital studio to talk, about a few different topics, but the biggest one obviously is tomorrow's NFL draft. If you are a big NFL geek and a fantasy football geek, and sometimes a lot of times those things go hand in hand, then tomorrow night is one of the best days of the sports year, especially with the Lions being so good and all the intrigue surrounding, who they might pick and if they're going to move up or not, and all the Jameson Williams stuff. And we'll, I guess, dive into that immediately. So lots of rumors. We'll start with JMO. An NFL insider by the name of Albert Breer, pretty credible, fairly well-known guy, kind of an innocuous tweet. He said it was that some NFL personnel people or insiders or execs, I can't remember the exact verbiage, felt that Jameson could be available for a draft day trade. Now, you might ask why. He's coming off his best season, finally stayed on the field, went over 1,000 yards, 7 receiving scores. I think he had a rushing score as well. Just electric, really opens up the field for the Lions. You might ask why they would consider trading Jameson, if indeed they are. Now, the idea is, I guess, it's his third year. Early May, they'll have to decide whether they're going to pick up his fifth-year option before he plays his fourth year. That's no problem. The salary is not an issue for year 4 and year 5. But there's a thought process that if he continues this arc, this improvement, that he'd be in line for a massive extension that the Lions could not afford. Well, to me, that's a great problem to have, obviously, because if he does have that season next year and you do want to trade him because you can't afford to pay him, then that's when you want to do so. Hello to Jeanette. Jake Rogers has been, he's on the injured list. I'm trying to remember what the injury is, but it's not long-term. I believe it was supposed to be 10 to 14 days, and I think we're in about a week or so. So your boy Jake and his glorious mustache will be back very soon in the Tigers lineup. So, again, back to Jameson, and you might wonder why then. Why would they want to trade him outside of an obvious maybe interest in trading up to get a stud in the top third of Thursday night's first round of the draft? You can't pay everybody. The NFL salary cap, the NFL is so incredibly popular, and they're tapping into all these streaming sources and all these companies that want to get in bed with the NFL. And for the past 2 years, the salary cap has jumped much further than even the NFL expected. And so it's insanely popular right now. So that's been very advantageous, I think, more so to the best teams that can tie up more of their talent and afford to pay them and not let them go. But I think that'll catch up to the Lions at some point. They've handed out big money extensions to Goff, to Penei Sewell, to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got a number of talented young players that are going to need extended or a decision on whether or not to extend them in the next few years, because Brad Holmes has just drafted amazingly 7 players that have made either Pro Bowl or earned All-Pro status. So I know in no particular order, you got Aiden Hutchinson. He's definitely going to get paid. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, sometimes dicey, but will probably get a contract extension. Laporta, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and again, Jameson. You can't pay everybody. You already have Amon-Ra and a huge amount of money allotted at that position. So maybe there's a thought like we can move JMO. We're not going to be able to afford him in a couple of years. Let's get a stud impact player now. Let's get a younger, cost-controlled wide receiver, in this year's draft to pair with Amon-Ra and Laporta in that great running game. And hey, we don't skip a beat there. And, you have to admit, last year was fun, but Jameson has obviously had his off the field issues from the betting, from performance enhancers to he wasn't charged with it, but a traffic stop with his brother where a gun was involved. There's been issues. but there's no denying he's an electric talent. There's an old saying, you can't teach speed, and he has breathtaking speed. He is a huge, huge weapon for the Lions. You're welcome, Jeanette. So I'm not sure. I know that he's unfollowed the Lions on social media. Do with that what you will. I don't know if there's any substance to anything. I will say I read a lot of mock drafts, and I have seen, along with the mock drafts, there's also trade rumors, draft day trades. Some folks tying Jameson to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I read an article yesterday where Jerry Jones, the owner, of course, it talked about them working on some pretty massive deals. I just read one site about an hour ago that talked about how they would want to try to maybe trade for Jameson. They have the 12th overall pick, and also draft the North Carolina running back Omari Hampton as well, because they need some playmakers. That's intriguing. If the Lions do put Jameson on the block, they're going to have some suitors there, and they're going to be able to move him. But I don't know if we'll probably learn, on Friday when Brad Holmes speaks, but if there was any substance to this or not. But in substance, I could see why, obviously, the Lions would consider moving Williams. So I think the smart move is to hold on to him at least one more year, and he does have another big year on top of it. Doesn't have any off the field issues. His value is going to be exponentially higher, obviously. So Detroit, they need an edge rusher. Everybody needs an edge rusher. They don't have much after Hutchinson. They let Zadarius Smith go. Offensive line could fortify cornerback. Obviously, they have 7 picks. No 5th rounder, though. 2 7th rounders. Brad Holmes, the Lions GM, is famous for not chasing needs, as he talks about. He's aware of them, but he thinks it's causing more problems to kind of chase them, say to give up picks to chase to fill a need, and cause yourself some problems elsewhere. So he's a big fan of the best available player, and obviously he is an incredible GM. Again, 7 players in the last 4 drafts that have been selected for a Pro Bowl or named to an All-Pro team. That's ridiculous. I think he kind of looks at the NFL draft as like, a chess match, a series of moves, meaning what he does is going to be dictated by the flow of the draft, who maybe unexpectedly drops down. For instance, they moved up a bit last year to get Terrion Arnold. They really liked him, surprised he fell. They moved up a bit and they grabbed him. But he said in other deals, it's planned further in advance, like the Jameson trade with the Vikings a couple years ago. They had to jump up like close to 30 picks, 20-odd picks to get Jameson. He said that one was more complicated, and that was discussed with the Vikings for a good bit of time before the draft. So I just think Brad Holmes is very fluid, and so he's got a number of scenarios in his head that he would consider depending on the flow of the draft, which brings me to this. I was looking to see where some of the Michigan guys were projected to go. I've seen Mason Graham go anywhere from top 5 or 6 to the early to mid-teens. Same with Will Johnson, who began the year projected as like a top 5 NFL pick, but he hasn't stayed on the field. He's been injured. He couldn't work out at the pro day, and obviously a fantastic talent as well. Probably going to drop much further than he should. In fact, I just read this mock draft of Peter Schrager, who was on the NFL Network, is now new to ESPN, and he had the Lions getting Will Johnson at number 28. That would be staggering. I have a tough time to see that. If you thought that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell high-fived each other and hugged each other a lot after getting Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft a couple years ago, they'd probably lose it if they got Will Johnson at 28. But like Terrion Arnold, for instance, if Will Johnson falls, then I could absolutely see the Lions to a point. Again, they're way back at 28. How far is it feasible for them to move up? Mid to late teens probably is where you're going to start looking at that. So I could definitely see that happen. A number of different scenarios if they stay put at 28. I've seen a whole lot of different players mocked to the Lions. I will say this. Brad Holmes often leaves a lot of breadcrumbs in interviews. And what that means is after the draft, and after you see you get, journalists have gone to look back at his pre-draft statements in different interviews, and often the clues were there the whole time over which way he was going to go. And he's talked about adding 2 edge rushers. you're not going to get a star. You're not going to get an Abdul Carter, obviously, but they need talent. They need depth at that position. I could easily see Detroit using 2 of their 7 picks on edge rushers, interior linemen, anything to shore up that line. Again, best player available. By the way, just while I was on the Google today looking for some Lions news, it was just announced, I don't know, in the past hour or so, the Lions will play the Chargers in the Hall of Fame game, the very first exhibition game of the season. That'll be on Thursday, July 31st. So if you want to take a trip to Canton, this would be the year to do it. Get a bonus there with not just the Lions, but obviously the Chargers led by Jim Harbaugh. So there you go. Do with that what you will. But incredibly pumped for tomorrow night just to see what happens. The quarterbacks seem to be the key to the draft once again, although Shedeur Sanders is gone from being talked about as like the Giants at 3 or the Saints at 9 to maybe tumbling down to the Steelers at 21. That's always fascinating. You see that with a quarterback every year. It happened with Johnny Manziel, deservedly so, about 10 years ago. Famously to Aaron Rodgers, who obviously should not have tumbled. So sometimes you'll see that. And I'm just eager to see how it all plays out for the roughly 2.5, 3 hours on Thursday night. Rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, 4 through 7 on Saturday. So buckle up. Let's switch gears to the Tigers. My phone's blowing up, including our text from our web person. I have to get off this at 2:00. All right, so let's get moving. Tigers began the day yesterday tied with the Yankees for the best record in the American League. Ironically, they faced the team, the Padres, tied for the best record in the National League as well. San Diego, really good. They shut out the Tigers last night. They already have 7 shutouts, I think, in like 24 games or something. They're legit. But Detroit, 14-7 since that season opening sweep at the hands of the defending World Series champion Dodgers. Before last night, the Tigers had won 9 of their first 11 at home for the first time in Comerica Park history, and first time winning 9 of 11 at home since 1984 at Tiger Stadium. Obviously, 1984, I'm told, was a very good year for the Tigers. Is that true? Is that factual? Yeah. All right, hoping you're picking up on the sarcasm there, because I got one email last night when I made that joke on air. So off to a fantastic start. The pitching's been real good. Reese Olson on the hill tonight. Just before I came upstairs, Gleyber Torres with an early homer. The hitting's been a bit better than I expected, obviously led by Spencer Torkelson, who went from a guy who was perhaps trending to be one of the biggest busts ever, a number 1 overall pick, and who was supposedly slated for Toledo, to a guy who's hitting the cover off the ball. He's got 7 homers and 21 RBI already. It's only April 23rd. Last year, he had 10 homers for the season, 37 RBI, spent some time down in Toledo, just 92 games, and batted .219. He's batted .274 this season. Really worked on his swing in the offseason, and that's been huge for this Tigers lineup. Riley Green heating up, putrid start, but heating up on this 10-game homestand. In fact, I think he's already had some base hit today. Gleyber Torres, I just mentioned, the Yankees cast off, began the day hitting over 300. Again, had a home run just before I came upstairs. Kerry Carpenter continuing to destroy right-handed pitchers. They call him Kerry Bonds when he faces a right-handed pitcher, and deservedly so. Even Javi Baez quietly hitting well, 274, which, I mean, we've seen Javi below 200s the past 4 years. So anything you can get out of him is a huge bonus. We'll see where they have to put him in the lineup after Meadows comes back. But good problem to have. On the downside, Colt Keith showed a lot of promise last year, really hit well in the second half. Struggled in April. It's not uncommon. A lot of players do. Tough month to hit in with the cold weather. And Trey Sweeney both struggling a bit as well. I'd love to see this team add a bat at some point. I don't know who. We're not to the point where we're talking about trade deadline in addition. And I know they're obviously doing really well, but I just feel like they need a bat or two that will solidify this lineup and make them a much tougher out when we get to the postseason. And the Tigers, barring some craziness in injuries, they're going to be in the postseason. This is a really good team. They are finally have an off day tomorrow before finishing up the homestand against the Orioles. Great timing. The Tigers are off because obviously Thursday is jam-packed. We talked about the NFL draft. The Pistons tied at one game apiece in their quarterfinal series with the Knickerbockers. What's up, Sean? Gary Baker. Hey, bud. How you doing? Thanks for joining. Detroit should have won game one of that series. Slipped away at the Garden. But they ended their NBA record 15-game postseason losing streak a couple nights ago. Their first win, believe it or not, since the Game 4 of the 2008 Eastern Conference Finals. And it's kind of staggering. I mean, I came here in 2007 and obviously very familiar with the Pistons over the years, but they were still like in the tail end of that dynasty, making deep runs into at least the Eastern Conference Finals every year. Before then, obviously falling off a cliff for a decade and a half. But incredible turnaround. They won 14 games last year. They won 44 regular season games this year. First team, I believe, to triple their win total from the previous season. They are very young. They are very good. I believe if they go on to beat the Knicks, and again, game 4 or game 3 tomorrow night in Detroit, they would get the Celtics. It's not like the NFL where the seeds change. I think it's bracketed. So even though they would be the 6th seed, probably should get the Cavs. I think they would get the defending champ Celtics. And so that would be tough. But just an incredible turnaround. It's just nice to see the needle pointing up on 3 of our 4 teams right now, obviously with the Tigers, Pistons, and Lions, and the Red Wings. We'll have that discussion another day. Stagnant and missing the playoffs yet again. We have a new newsletter I want to mention. It just comes out once a week on Thursday mornings. You can sign up with it. Just simple links to 5 of our top stories from the previous week for all you sports geeks out there, myself included. I know I just got finished putting it together a little while ago, so it can be sent out tomorrow. WMU hockey team, the national champion WMU hockey team, receiving the key to the city at Monday night's Kalamazoo City Commission meeting. There's a nice proclamation. Head coach Pat Ferschweiler, AD Dan Bartholomew, most of the team. They're also in finals now. They've also lost a couple guys to the pros, Alex Bumps in the AHL, Tim Washy went to Anaheim. But large contingent descending on City Hall, getting a key to the city. The WMU dance team, not the only national champions, the WMU hockey team on campus. WMU dance team won a national championship as well. There's an article on that. Schoolcraft and Hackett baseball teams, both ranked. They had a doubleheader split yesterday. We had highlights. So that's going to be available for you to check out online, including articles on the Pistons and the Tigers as well. I've been jabbering for about 18 minutes. Just checking because they want me off at 2 o'clock so that they can stream something else, WMU president or something. So we're going to quiet down in some degree. I mean, after the draft, obviously the Tigers aren't going anywhere. We'll see how far the Pistons go, but we really start to focus a lot on high school sports this time of year as we, edge ever closer to the end of the MHSAA sports season, culminating very nicely. I love it every year with that Father's Day weekend up at Michigan State where they crown the baseball, softball, and soccer champions that weekend, track a week or two before, girls tennis as well. I'm probably missing something off the top of my head. Apologies. But really enjoy doing that, especially when we get into the playoffs. So a lot of high school coverage coming the way. If there's something that you feel we need to cover, like Gary Baker's son, who set the Comstock strikeout record, was 251 punch outs. It's still early in the season. Going to crush that record. We'll see if we can do something on that young man. Any stories you think we should cover or anything you want to talk about, give me a shout. You can find me on Facebook, WWMT Andy Pepper, my personal Facebook, Twitter, WWMT A Pepper, email apepper at sbgtv.com. That's samboygirl, sbgtv.com. Reach out. Let me know if there's a topic you want to talk about on the Pep Talk every week. I would be glad to do it. But right now, all sorts of pumped up. Next Wednesday, obviously, we'll have our post-mort on the Lions. The Pistons series will be close to being wrapped up one way or the other. And something's being dropped upstairs. Always something to talk about in the sports world, right? So I appreciate you taking some time out today and listening to me jabber for about 20 minutes. A little bit rushed. Wanted to get into some other topics, but that can wait. Have yourself a great Wednesday, and keep the remote handy on Thursday. I got 2 TVs in the sports office, so Pistons up top, NFL draft on the bottom. It's going to be a great night. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.